Lots of discussion the last few months about whether or not to remove this rear window. On one hand, you think, well, it's okay, it's not leaking, we might break it, let's leave it be. On the other hand, now's the time, we need to be sure. So eventually we pulled it out. It was not that big of a deal, and it was leaking a little bit in the upper left hand corner. So we did have one more piece of rotten wood to replace, but it was just a little sliver, like 8 inches long and 2 inches deep. And we put it back with some proper caulk. So pulling the window was a good call, and now we don't have to worry about whether it leaks or not. It should not leak for a long time. So now that the big deck is taken care of, this is the only mess on the boat left to as far as decks go. It needs a lot of cleaning and a lot of touch up, and maybe we'll get some paint on this week. This is the area that held water, so I have built it up quite a bit, probably more than 1/4 of an inch. And the last time I put a layer, I played with trying to reestablish this texture by rolling it when it was still wet, and I think I can do pretty well. So I'm going to tape the edges, and I'm going to put a layer of thickened paint and roll it to get the texture. You can tell you're messing with some serious paints when the plastic dip cup dissolves. So I tape the edges and roll the thickened epoxy, and it's a little prickly looking, but I think when it cures, if I sand it a little bit, I'll have a pretty reasonably close match. So everything's coated with a coat of epoxy. This is another type. This is Series 20 and it's kind of pink. I don't know why. I've done a lot of work in the plants. I've never painted anything pink before, but it's covered that dark so that when we put the white finish coat, it won't take so many mils to cover it, and this epoxy is tough. So got a first coat. Took a lot of cleaning to get to this stage. Just finished putting this is the 3rd coat on this back deck. 1 pink epoxy and 2 of the white finish paint. Probably could use another coat, but that may wait until we get it in the water. Come to the realization that it is impossible to paint under trees. This is the first day the wind wasn't blowing, and I said, oh, I'll get some paint without all the crap falling on it. And a squirrel parks his ass right above my head and starts throwing all kind of stuff down. It's very frustrating. This is my homemade texture, and it came out pretty good. The actual process of getting paint on the boat is pretty dull. It's a lot of sanding, a lot of prep, a little bit of paint, and more sanding after that. So we just have a few pics we can show you. Here we have 1 coat rolled and tipped on a lot of the cabin sides, the ones I could reach. Before we put the catwalks on, there were parts that I couldn't actually get to, but did pretty well with the roll and tipping method. 2 coats covered well on the areas that were white to begin with, but where there was blue to begin with, it took at least 3. So I went around the boat and painted the first coat just on the blue, just to try to cover it a little bit. And then I came back and did a whole nother roll and tip. So this is the 2nd coat on the blue and the 1st coat on the white. And then after the fact, we sprayed the hull, and it came out pretty good. These are the catwalks. They have a coat on them, top and bottom. We just rolled it. They have a heavy texture, so rolling did fine. And we put them on the boat, and that enabled us to, 1, check to see that they fit before we get to the river, and 2, gives us something to stand on to paint the cabin sides. It makes it much more practical. And we got the front and back on the boat. We got the 2 catwalks on the boat, or the 4 catwalks on the boat. The first time since the boat's been in Louisiana. They're not fully screwed, just a few screws in each one just to hold them. We just wanted to make sure everything was going to fit and work before we brought it and put it in the water. This is the top corner. It has 2 coats, and you can still see the blue through it a little bit, so it'll need another coat. But this is the overhang up front, which was white, and it has 2 coats, and it came out really well. At this point, the bulk of the painting's done. We'd like to get another coat on the big deck upstairs, and there's a few little spots here, there, and yonder that need touching up, but for the most part, it's done. We put a boot stripe using the tape, and with 2 people, it was pretty manageable. But boy, I wouldn't want to try it with 1 person. I think it'd be almost impossible. All right, thanks for watching.